Hey everyone! So to start off this project, we're going to start with a piece of paper, and then we're going to need a pair of scissors, a glue stick, and we're going to need some colored paper. If you don't have colored paper, you can use white paper and crayons. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is pick out a color that we want to use for our face. I'm going to choose hot pink for mine. And then we're going to look at the top part of the paper and we're going to fold it down towards the center. And this is just to give us a nice clean line so we know where to cut, because this is an exact square piece of paper and I actually want to make it a rectangle. So I'm going to fold this on the crease, and then I'm going to take my scissors and cut it on the crease. If you have a ruler, you can use a ruler to draw a line instead of this folding technique. Once you're done cutting your piece of paper, make sure you save this scrap because we're going to use it after. The next thing we want to do is we want to fold in the edges of this paper just a little bit, maybe about a ½ inch, just enough to get a little bit of glue on it. We're going to fold it in towards the center. Just like that. Make sure it's got a nice crease to it. Now, since this is a pop-up portrait, I'm going to show you that we need to kind of curl the paper so those two flaps sit flush onto the paper, but the curve of the paper pops up off of the white paper. Now we take our glue stick and we spread it on just that little flap, and then on the other flap. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stick it onto the background paper, making sure that it's nice and curled because we want it to pop up off of the paper. And you might have to hold it down for a minute or so, because sometimes when you stick it down, if you release it and you haven't pushed hard enough or you haven't held it long enough, it can possibly move and pop up off the paper. And if it does that, you can just take some more glue and stick it back on. See, like that. So we're going to go ahead and hold it there a little bit longer. And we just want to make sure that it stays. Now we're going to get started on the neck. We're going to need to get that scrap piece of paper and slip it underneath the face, and we can cut it down. So it's best that we fold it in half, make a seam like we did before, and then when we open it back up, we can cut along the seam. Then we're going to save the other piece for another part of the face. So let's put the neck underneath the face, add some glue, and then stick it down. And when you stick it down, you want to slip it underneath the face just a little bit. If you notice that one of the corners is popping up, after you've stuck it down, you can get some more glue and add it underneath. Hold it down for just a few seconds to make sure it sticks. Once it's stuck down properly, we're going to go ahead and get out our colored construction paper to see what color we want to make the hair. You can measure the hair by putting it on the side of the face to see how much hair you're going to want on the side. This works great if you're making long hair. And then we just cut a strip and we lay it down. If you're making short hair, you can start making almost like a zigzag cut, and we can lay that down on the side. So for the long hair, we want to measure one side to the other and make sure that they look pretty symmetrical. Use that last piece to go over the top of the face to make some bangs. Now we're going to start making strips almost all the way up to the top. We're going to leave about a ½ inch to an inch while we make these strips. This is a great way to create hair using paper. The more strips you make, the more hair it will look like you have. Be very careful when you start cutting your hair. There we go. And the last step that we want to do with this hair is add some glue to the top edge that's not cut and line it up to the top of the face to lay it down. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. To create the bangs, we're going to lay the last piece of yellow across the top of the face and fold down the sides, very similar to how we made the actual face of our pop-up portrait. We just make a crease here, make sure it goes around the face, and then make a crease on the other side. Perfect. The next step, once we have it laid out like this, we want to pick up our piece and start creating more hair, leaving the small edge on the top that's open so we can add some glue and so the hair doesn't come off. Once you've finished cutting the hair, the next thing we're going to do is add some glue to the tabs on the side. And we're going to lay it across the face on the top. There we go. Make sure it's straight. And hold it down on each side to make sure that it sticks and stays. And that's all we needed to get done for this week. Welcome back, everyone. So you should have your face and hair and neck done. And now we're going to be adding the finishing touches. So I found this really cool piece of paper that already had a nice edge on it. And I'm going to make this into a giant bow. You might have things laying around your house that you might want to add to your pop-up portrait, and you are more than welcome to do that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to start drawing 2 triangles coming in from the sides, just a little bit, like I would say midway, just like this. And I'm going to try to make the same type of triangle on the other side. And then I'm going to cut it, and this is going to make for a very large bow. Once I have my bow ready, I'm going to go ahead and get my face back out, and I'm going to start maneuvering it all over the page to see where I want it on my hair. And once I find a spot, I'm going to add some glue. And then place it And wherever you place it, you want to make sure that you hold it down long enough for it to stay. Just like that. Next, I'm going to pick out a color that I want to use for my eyes, and I'm just going to trace the cap of the glue stick to make a circle. I'm going to make 2 of those just in case I want to use 2 big blue eyes, but I'm going to make sure that I like what I see on my picture before I glue it down. So you can use either circles or an almond shape, or anything you can find around the house that you want to trace, or you can just start cutting out some shapes. Now that we have our eyes cut out, we can move those aside and bring our face back out. And now we're going to start working on the nose. So we're going to use that last scrap that we have of the color that we use for our skin, and I'm going to cut just a small piece, and I'm going to make those little tabs that we've been making before. And then I'm going to start to glue them down once I've made a tab on each side, because we're going to make sure that this nose pops off the page. So fold in both sides, curve the middle with your finger, and once it's curved, I'll hold mine to the side so you can see it. So I've got the 2 tabs, and it's a little bit curved, and then I'm going to take the glue and add it to my face. Now the nose can be a little bit tricky, so you have to make sure that you're holding it down. If it starts to pop up and off the face, you can go ahead and add more glue and try again. Now I'm going to bring my eyes back out and see what I would like. These are a little bit big, but I think it might be nice if I cut this circle in half. And I can use half circles for my eyes. Place them down, make sure I like them, and then add the glue. The next thing I'm going to do is pull out another piece of paper to make my mouth. And you can make your mouth a couple different shapes. You could make a little V at the top and then bring the lines out to make actual lips. And then make a curve from one end to the other. And that's one type of mouth you can make. You could just make an open mouth and see what you like best. Once you have a mouth that you like, start cutting it out. Add some glue to the mouth. And place it underneath the nose. And make sure you hold that down too. Now it's starting to look like a real face. Let's go ahead and pick out another color to make our shirt. Once you pick out a color, we lay it down across the neck. We're going to find the two sides of the neck and make an oval shape. Then we're going to make some lines that go diagonal to the sides to make the shoulders. Once you have that done, we're going to cut along the lines to make the shirt. Once you have your shirt cut out, we're going to lay it down and place it on our pop-up portrait to see where we want to have it. You might want to make it higher or lower on the neck. Make sure you add enough glue to all the edges. And then we're going to place it down. Lift up the hair so we don't stick the hair on it. And smooth it out. There you go. If you're looking to add some more detail to the hair, we can take our fingers and start curling the edges. We can also take a pen and roll the piece around the pen to make it so it's got a very detailed curl. Pinch it a little bit, pull the pen out, and you'll see it's got a nice curl to it. You can straighten it out by curling it the other way, and then just using your fingers to curl the ends of the hair if you wanted to. And that just adds a little more detail to our pop-up portrait. Let's go ahead and add the last bits of detail to our pop-up portrait. So I'm going to get a Sharpie marker out. You can use any kind of marker or pen if you'd like. I'm going to add the smile on the lips and 2 black circles for the pupils of the eye. And then I'd like to add a collar on the shirt, so I'm going to add a scallop pattern on the shirt. You'll be able to see that better in just a minute. And then 2 lines coming down on the sides for the arms. And I think that's it. Now we have our pop-up portrait. I hope you guys had fun with this project.